Okay, hello everyone. My name is Hélène Beslard, and I'm really happy to be here today to talk about MindMap AI and career changes. It's a subject which is very important for me because I've made many career changes in my professional life. I began to study in a business school. So that was my first study, and I studied Japanese also. I worked in Japan. And when I had my children, I had 3 children in a very short time, I decided I want to spend more time with them, being able to care for them and to still have a professional, happy life and a career. So I joined the education, and I was a primary school teacher. So that was my first career change, and I had to work a lot to become a teacher while having 3 young children at home and not that much time. So that was the first one. And then after a few years in the Éducation nationale, as we say it in French, I realized I didn't have the tool to properly teach the children I had in my classroom, and I really wanted them to succeed. So that's why I undertook another career change, and I learned about mind mapping and neuroscience to be able to help them better. And that was not easy either, because I had to write an essay and all of that while still having my 3 young children at home and working full time. So that was the second one. And afterwards, I think the third one was becoming an entrepreneur, as we say, teaching adults about learning. And that was really, really an interesting part of my career. And also writing books about mind mapping. So I know firsthand how it is difficult to undertake a career change. And I hope that today, what I will give you today, what I will tell you today, will help you as much as possible to learn, to retain, and succeed in your career change. So let's begin. When we undertake a career change, there's usually quite a few obstacles, especially if you're already in a job, if you have children, family, people to take care of. But it's also such a great opportunity to make your life what you want of it, to create the life you want, to create the job you want, the career path you want. So there are those various challenges, and the first one, I think, well, at least it was for me, is that I didn't know how to learn, which is quite ironic to become a teacher, you would say. But I mean, learning when I was in university was just, I didn't ask myself too much question about how it is, how should I do, how can I learn more efficiently, what it is about learning. I just took the books and read them, and somehow it worked. Because I think I had the time, I was talking with my fellow students about what I was learning and stuff, so it helps to remember. But when you're maybe more adult with different responsibilities, it's not that easy. And when I discovered mind mapping the first time, it was really like, I would say, falling in love. It may be a bit strong to say that, but it's really true, because I discovered a tool that was so helpful, that helped me, and I realized really soon that it was helping so many of my students. And of course, neuroscience is another discovery. We didn't talk about neuroscience that much a few years back, and its development the last 10 or 20 years really has brought a lot to teaching and learning. So it's really a choice when you undertake a career change, or at least it was for me. But sometimes it can also come from a request from outside, and then it's a great challenge. And the first big challenge in career changes is time management, because suddenly you have so many things to do, because undertaking new studies, staying in your job, there's two big chunk, two big areas of your life, and you have to fit everything in 24 hours. And it's ever more difficult if you have family responsibilities, as for many adults who undertake career changes have. So it's really juggling between responsibilities. And I think the first thing when we talk about time management is to talk about goal setting. And once you have set your goals properly, it's much easier to talk about time management. And I really think we can see career change as a project in itself, with smart goals, what goals I'm gonna set myself, what do I want to achieve at this point in time, how am I going to do it, and really, really take it as a project, professional project, and not only as something we did maybe earlier while studying at university, but sometimes it's not that much a project, but a way of life. And it's when you're at university, learning is just your whole life. But when we undertake a career change, we have to take into account other areas of our life as well, and set everything and put everything in the same time set. And for that, I saw that MindMap AI had wonderful mind map to offer you, and a great also webinar when you can have more about time management. So I'm not going to develop this today. I would like to go more to the learning area, but I strongly suggest you look at time management. And we'll see later on today in the webinar, well, also time management is important way when you're learning something, because we have some set times and set deadlines to follow. So it's a choice, but it also can be a great challenge, especially when you have too much things to do in too little time. So how are we going to do that? So you have set your goals, long time goals, and you have learned more about time management. And I also suggest that you set clear study goals. So you know, for instance, you have to take this exam in 6 months, and you decide you're going to take 1 month to study this part of the curriculum and another month to study that. But every day when you sit down and study, and we'll see later on today how we can study in a more effectively way, every time you sit down and you study, you can set a clear goal. For instance, I'm going to take a very banal, common topic. But if you want to study World War II, you're not going to sit down and say, okay, I have to study World War II, but you can set yourself in a positive way, saying, okay, I'm going to study World War II, but I want to know after this half an hour, 1 hour, or 3 hours I want to know this about it, this and this and this. So you have a very clear goal, a smart goal, not only for your curriculum as a whole, but for every study time you're going to make. For instance, today you're watching a webinar about MindMap AI for career change. You could have set yourself a goal before watching it. Okay, I'm going to undertake a career change. Maybe in 6 months, I'm thinking about it, or I'm doing it right now. What would be my goals? What would I like to learn today about it? So having clear goals really help to focus on what we want to achieve, and it helps the brain also to remember it in a much more effective way. So navigating information, that was the first point. Set yourself very clear study goals, even if it's just for a short study time. Secondly, before undertaking a new course, before taking a new subject, a very, very effective way of succeeding in a subject is strategic pre-reading before undertaking it. Of course, not learning everything about the subject, because otherwise the course won't be that interesting, and it may be even boring if you know everything about it. But strategic pre-reading means maybe look at a video, maybe look at a book, and especially the book structure, the book summary, so that you know what it's a table of contents. Sorry, just that was a French word, summary. But looking at the table of contents will definitely help you to know a bit about the subject before taking the course. For instance, you're going to take a course about I don't know, surgery, and if you're a medical student, if you're gonna do a career change in the medical area, you may want to look at a book or a video about the subject you're gonna take the next week, for instance. So you have an idea about what you're gonna learn. And I'm going to give you another example. If you ask me to learn mechanics, I'm not good at mechanics at all because I don't know the words, I don't know anything about it. But if I look at a few videos, I can have a more interesting conversation about it. I can build the knowledge on the structure I've gained beforehand. And for that, MindMap AI is just such an easy and great tool, because you can feed it the PDF of the table of contents of the course, of the book you want to study, linking with the study or the course you're going to take afterwards. And then you have a mind map. And I don't know if people looking at this webinar are familiar or not about mind mapping, but we're going to see an example afterwards. Just looking at a mind map, you have all the structure in a very visual way, and it's much more easier for many people to look at a mind map than looking at a table of contents. And you can add some stuff, you can add some branches, and it's not today's seminar, but a subject of the seminar, but mind mapping really helped to grasp in a much more quicker way, much quickly, a subject. So navigating information is a key part of undertaking a career change, because we all have too much information to look at in this time frame. So setting yourself clear goals will definitely help you to make the most of your learning time, and also not to lose yourself in the amount of information you can get on any subject. Strategic pre-reading will definitely help you, and you can try it out for your next course and see how it's working for you. But for most people, it's really working very well. And learning the book structure before reading it, that's a little bit different. That means if for your course, you have to read a book, which is quite common still now in this area. You take the book, and if you read if you take the table of content beforehand, do a mind map of it so you know where you're going, and then you can add the information to the information you have, in a way like the brain is working. You have the knowledge, and then you add it, and you construct a very nice spider web. So navigating information, and once again, AI mind mapping is such a gain of time, but I will get back to that afterwards. All right, what about active learning before passive learning? What we may have done for years, I know in the French system, lots of students, and myself included, have spent years and years sitting in the classroom, being not that active, listening to things in a very passive way. And some things were coming through, and obviously I learned many things, but not as much as I could have. Why? Because I think I wasn't active, and it's not only me, but lots of students. Because we know now, and there was a very interesting study about the best students in Harvard Business School, how are they doing? And they had a kind of secret tool, is that they say when people talk, they have a second voice in their head saying everything again with their own words. So whatever, being active when you're listening to something, is that you have another voice in your head taking the knowledge and put it in your own words, so that's actually really what learning is about, making the information yours. And for most of very good students, it's a very natural way of learning because they do it without thinking. But some students, or maybe as time goes by, if we undertake career changes later in our life, it's no longer natural. It's something that we have to learn again. And a good thing, a good way to doing it is just looking at video. And you look at a video, maybe a 2 minutes video, and when the video is ended, you just try to say in your own words what you've just seen, of what you've just heard. And this is really a core skill in learning. And it means being active. And when you're active, your brain is connecting the knowledge, build your brain. And it's really interesting also that with neuroscience, we know that when we learn something, the brain is actually connecting in another way. But it's another subject. It's not today's subject, but it's really interesting to look at that and to understand that when we're actually learning, the brain is changing, the brain structure is changing. So let's be active. And another key secret that we have to know, and I'm sure some of you know this already, but I'm going to say it again, it's the memorization and forgetting curve. It's really, really so simple, so simple. Everything we want to learn, you see it one day, and you have it to learn it again the same evening if you can. The most important is this day afterwards, a week afterwards, a month afterwards, 6 months afterwards, and then it will be in your long-term memory. And I know in France, we mostly said to children, go back to your homework the night before going to bed, you'll remember it better, but not in understanding really what that meant. It's simply this habit of going back to what you're learning the same evening, the day afterwards, a week afterwards, a month afterwards, is just making sure that your brain is recording the information, because we're surrounded by so many information every day. We can't remember everything. So our brain is just sorting out things about what you have to remember, what you don't have to remember, and it has to sort out. You can't remember everything. And it's normal functioning of the brain. So you really have to be really structured to make it understand this is important for me and I want to remember. And it is a proven schedule. I mean, there are lots of studies. It's easy to find so many studies about that. And we've known it since the 19th century, actually. That's the way the brain is learning. And so it's such a huge time saver if you use this schedule, because you won't have to go back to what you're learning as much as if you're doing it this way. So maybe you're tired the day afterwards, but if you take just maybe 5 or 10 minutes, it's really a huge saver. And that's what I put, use your diary and time management with AI, and especially AI mind mapping, to plan your learning session, to remember, okay, last week I had this course on the, I don't know, my World War II. And so I'm going to look at it tomorrow again. I'm going to look at it again in a month and make sure you do it. And it's really a time saver. I have to be a bit, to talk a bit, to concentrate a little bit, because I'm talking too much. It's such a subject. I love so much this subject. I can talk about it for hours. So I'm going to be a bit more concentrate on the key facts so that we keep in time. A recitation, that's, I think, the third key about effective learning, is to test your knowledge, because learning is not about reading, learning is not about writing, learning is not about learning, is about knowing, is about explaining something to someone else, explaining the things to you, being able to put the knowledge into your own words. And how can you know if your learning is effective or not? It's not about the time you're spending, it's not about the books you're reading, it's about what you can recite and what you can say about it in your own words. And it's not at the exam, it's not when you're beginning your new career that you're going to test that, it's beforehand. And it's actually the way to learn because your brain is making an effort, exactly like in sport. You can't have more muscle just thinking, okay, I have to go to the gym. No, you have to go to the gym and make the effort, and the muscles are building out. And it's exactly the same with learning. It's exactly when you are going to recite, you're going to make the effort that the brain is connecting and knowledge is structured. So to give you a very simple example of using MindMap AI for such recitation, if you want to do a study of World War II, I think it's probably the most used example in learning seminars, but it's quite effective. You can make this mind map like that. Well, I use MindMap AI. I fed it a course. And you have the key, you can see key events, rise of Nazism, the different events, and then the second map at the bottom of the map you can see on the screen is the event in Europe. If you want to know if you know, you can collapse the branches with MindMap AI, so you can see the little plus on the right. And I add something at the end of the branch, at the right side of the branch, you can see 6. And underneath, with World War II in Europe, you can see 9. Those are the numbers of the branch I want to recite. If I want to know the chronology and the events about the rise of Nazism, I know I have 6 events to remember. If I want to know more about World War II in Europe, I have 9 different steps I want to remember. So I collapse the map. I do the map with MindMap AI of the lesson I had. I collapse the map and I try to recite. And this is really effective learning. While doing that, you really know if you know it or not. So for instance, when you do it, you see, you do it while the map is collect, and then you check. And you learn it again and you double check, learning it again, meaning you just say it in your brain once again. So it's really a simple project, a simple way of doing it, but it's really, really effective. It may be difficult, as sometimes you may think it's really difficult because it may seem more time consuming than reading stuff, but it's so much more effective because after reading a book or rereading a book, you really don't know actually what you're knowing. You just read the book and it cannot be that active. So a quick word about note-taking. To be active, actually, there are many, many studies proving that typing notes while listening to listen to a lesson or video, a webinar or whatever, it's not being active. The only way of being active for deeper learning is actual handwriting. And it may not be seems that fun. It's much more interesting and fun in a way to have your computer, but it's not as effective, definitely. So there's handwriting still is the best way because I wouldn't be able to explain it in a short time, but it's the quicker way from your hand to your brain. So you have to use handwriting. But sometimes handwriting doesn't allow us to have all the information because there's so many information in a lecture and you want to be sure you didn't miss anything, that you have all the information. So you just maybe can record the course, record what you're listening and do a beautiful mind map on MindMap AI. So, and then you double check with your notes. And last but not least, it says writing. And if you've tried MindMap AI before or the mind mapping or traditional mind mapping softwares, I mean, writing essays for that handwriting is definitely not the best tool, but mind mapping on a computer is such wonderful to writing essays because Once again, it's not the subject today, but it's a big part of career change. And you can just move the branch and really construct your ideas in a very, very efficient way. And one of the tools I really like with MindMap IA is to be able to develop the ideas. So the IA came in, you can use it to develop the ideas. And especially when you don't have much time and you have many things to do, if you can have help with the IA, let's get it. So that's the example, that's today's presentation I've done. That's the image, and I'm gonna go to the actual MindMap AA software to look at it. So that's what I was telling you today. For instance, time management. If you want to remember what I said about time management, you just collapse the branches, check that did I get the idea? Do I remember the idea? You double check. Here they are. Information navigation, clear study goal. If I want to develop that a little bit, I can ask, oops, sorry, I'm going to close this. I want to develop that, and I'm just going to ask IA expand. And just it take a little time because that's my connection, which is not that efficient today because we had quite big storms yesterday and the fiber is not working. I don't have that much. All right, so let's see what what the IA suggested. Smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. I said it, but I didn't develop it. I didn't tell the AI would develop that. And clear study goals, define learning objectives, exactly what we said. So this is definitely a great tool when you are writing an essay and if you want to develop everything we did today, because it was a short presentation, a short webinar, and I still took too much time, but you can use AI to develop, to have all the information. So I won't present today everything you can do with MindMap AI, but it can take so much time. To summarize what we said today, I really am going to go back to the presentation up to share it with you. Oh, so that was the map. No, okay, so we're going to finish with the brain engagement. Learning is definitely about engage the brain. And today I'm really happy about the new project I undertook with Communisance. Is about making books for really helping children to learn languages while being very active. And we are looking forward to create books for adults too, to know how to better learn and be happy and effective learners. Here I am, Sophia, if you want to join in, if you have some questions.
Yes, we do have few questions. Yeah, I'll go ahead and read the first one. How do I set goals? I have tried many times, but I get distracted. I want to set study goals and stay focused on study.
So how to set goals? It really depends on the study goals you have with your course. So you can, if you have, let's say, 10 chapters to study in 2 months, you just gonna say, okay, I'm gonna study this chapter this week, this chapter this week. And I don't know if this was your question, but maybe something which can help too is when you study a new subject is thinking, I want to be able to answer those questions. And the question I'm going to say, actually, the question is, what is it about? Who is it talking about? When is it happening? Is called, I wouldn't be able to, it's in English and in French, it's different. I think it's 6W in English, and in French, we call it the questionnement quintilien. So either you can set yourself precise goals because you have your course and you know you have to know a few things So you set the goals, okay, I want to know more about World War II, for instance. Or if you don't know enough about the subject, you say to yourself, at the end of my study session, which may last half an hour or 1 hour today, I want to be able to say what I'm talking about, what is it talking about, who is it talking about, when is it taking place, how is it working? And those are the basic questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll move to the second question. So,
Okay.
someone asked, how do I switch careers without starting over?
I mean, it really depends on the country. It's really depending on the country. I think you have to do some research. You definitely have to do some research. When I joined the Éducation nationale in French, what I was talking about, I used the years I had in the private sectors, because when you had sometimes working in the private sectors, you can uh, in a kind of transform those years in a practical experience and didn't have to start over. I think it's really depending on the countries and on the careers which you want to do. And it's really important to also to really tell yourself that it's never starting over, because whatever we have learned, whatever experience we had in our life, we build it on it. We definitely build it on it. So it's never starting over, I think, in life. Well, you can start over if you want to change your life, but you can use everything you learned before to do it. And on the practical side, it's really depending on the countries, and you have to be once again active, because it's your career change, and you have to be active about it and look for the information to be able to do it. And I'm saying the other question, is it too late to change careers at 30, 40, 50? I definitely think it's never too late. Personally, I'm 55 and I just began a new business, and it will be probably I didn't detail everything I've done in my life. I've done some paintings and stuff. And I think it's never too late. Never too late. I hope so, definitely. So I'm looking at the next question. How do I turn a mind map into an actionable career change plan? Very good question. We didn't have the time to do it today. I think mind mapping is a great tool to brainstorm. So first of all, I would advise you to put all your ideas on a map, and then you construct it, and it's really depending also on the what you want to do, and on the country you're in, and what the possibilities are there. But also that I've been told about a tool which I love about Career Plan, is saying just dream your life, and that's even before mind mapping. Just dream what you want to do, and you'll find a way to achieve your dream. So you said, next question, I hope I answered this one too. You know Japanese, English, and French. Well, French is my mother tongue. How did you learn those languages? What strategies do you use to study? When I learned, well, I'm not, it's difficult to speak Japanese after some time. You just forget it after some times, because it's so different than French and English. But I lived actually in Japan for 2 years, and at the time, I was learning it in a very traditional way. That means I was reading a lot, and for Japanese, I was writing a lot. I wish I knew more at the time, but we didn't talk about it at the time, about the forgetting curve, about the learning curve, about recitation, about everything I talked to you today, because I'm positive if I had used the strategies, I would have been much more efficient in learning. And I think the best tool to learn strategy is definitely mind mapping. Because why? There's so many use of possible mind mapping in learning languages. I can talk about it for hours, but the basic way I'm using mind mapping to teach young children how to learn. Maybe I can have now. I don't have my books over there, but in mind mapping, you can put the word, and you can use the pictogram along the word. So when you learn the language, you directly have the meaning with the mind map. You have the word and the pictogram. You don't have to think in your own language. And I think learning a very strong base of vocabulary is a good way to start learning a new language. At that Communisance, we're also preparing a book to make sure that the vocabulary which is learned in a given mind map can be used in one given situation. So we're preparing the mind map so that you can use the vocabulary in a given situation using the words as puzzle. So what strategies would I use to study a new language if I had to study a new language now, or if I'm going to study a new language, which is still possible, is that I will definitely use mind mapping to make sure I learn the words in a more natural way. And I would use a very active way. I would try to learn it in a very active way while reciting, making sentences. And there are so many apps today, so many possibilities. And one of app I really like about languages is the one you can talk about other people. You can talk with other people in other countries. So it is actually real communication and not just passive communication. It is a much longer subject than to develop in a few minutes. And thank you to MindMap AI to invite me today. I really appreciate it, and it's really a subject I can talk for hours. And really thank you for the opportunity, and good luck to MindMap AI. I think it's a great tool, and especially for career changes and learning and study. Thank you.